Hello, Guelph. My name is Mark Paralovos, and that rhymes with for all of us. And that sounds cheesy, I know, but it's a trick I use to help people say my name. And it's true. I want to stand for all of us, to help make a better Canada. But there are hard conversations that need to be had in the coming years. I'm standing as a nominee to be the candidate for the People's Party of Canada for the Guelph riding. Why? I'm sick and tired of politicians who do not answer questions. The only way to solve a problem is to identify the problem. But with our leaders currently, that's not possible. They do not answer questions when asked, and instead will state talking points or change the subject. I call it the Liberal tap dance. I grew up in Guelph. I went to Ottawa Crescent and King George. I went to John F. Ross. I left for a few years for college, and then I came back to raise my family. I love Guelph and the community feel of the city. I am Guelph proud, and I want to make sure our city maintains the close-knit community feel that I grew up with. Watching what is happening in Europe is very concerning, and I do not want that cancer or those social issues to spread to Canada. I'm sick and tired of identity politics. I cannot believe how poisoned the discussion has become. No one should be banned from a platform for trying to have an honest debate about a hard topic. It is in fact impossible to have an honest debate about a difficult topic without offending someone. But we need to find a pathway to having these conversations, because there are hard choices to be made, and the consequences for Canada will be far-reaching if we get it wrong. I love politics. This is what I like to do in my spare time, really, so I'm very knowledgeable on this topic. But if I don't know the answer, I will not launch into a talking point. I'll tell you that I don't know, and I'll go find out. I don't mince words, and I won't speak in riddles. I will take a position, and I will be clear on it. I will answer truthfully. I want to talk with you and represent you in Ottawa. So what hard skills do I have to do this job? Who am I? Fair question. I spent 15 years working in children's mental health, direct service to kids and families in crisis and high need. My job was to help these kids solve problems and get through their day. I was good at that job. I couldn't solve problems on my own. I had to work with teachers, parents, and principals, as well as the broader community team. Sometimes police, sometimes family and children's services, sometimes others. Negotiating with committees to solve problems is something I'm well practiced at. Delivering service to people who are difficult to serve is another thing I have experience in and excel at. I think these things will be very valuable in government. Being able to negotiate a high-value outcome while keeping everyone positive is something our current leaders have been unable to accomplish. It was part of my day-to-day expectations. I want to collaboratively work with anyone who is trying to make Canada a better place for its citizens. I believe government should work for and serve Canadians first. We should solve all of our domestic issues before pretending to the world that we can fix all of theirs. And we do have issues in this country. From homelessness to drug crisis, our domestic issues are challenging. So why are we spending billions of dollars outside of Canada? I'm unafraid to admit when I don't know or understand something. I'm enthusiastic and tenacious in seeking out the answer. I think those are valuable traits to have in somebody who wants to represent you. I don't want to tell you platitudes. I don't want to answer your questions with empty words. I want to find out the meat of it and then share it with you so we can solve the problem and move forward. I left working in education in 2015 for the more interesting opportunities available working in business. I now manage and build websites, and I help run a very successful brand. I get up in the morning excited to face the day at 5:30, and I want to focus this energy to have these hard conversations. I want to truthfully represent Guelph in Ottawa and help Maxime Bernier put Canada back on the right path. So why the PPC and why not any of the other parties, specifically Mr. Trudeau? Well, I think things have gotten far too expensive recently in the last 3 years, and a lot of Trudeau's policies are to blame. Trudeau's new taxes do not solve the problems he says they will. The carbon tax specifically has already made things more expensive. For a sneak preview of what Canada is in for, have a look at the price of gas in British Columbia. They have a carbon tax, and they've had it since 2008, and they've consistently produced more CO2 emissions than the Canadian average across Canada since it was implemented. This tax does not reduce emissions, and the systems where the money is invested in order to reduce CO2 emissions fundamentally doesn't work. Why pay all this extra money when it doesn't achieve the goal? Just like most of Trudeau's missteps, this makes no sense. Trudeau's handling of NAFTA negotiations, now the USMCA, with our closest trading partner was abysmal. His push to invest Canada's money in every country except Canada is concerning. His mishandling of trade to sending money out of Canada, I feel Trudeau's leadership is taking the country in the wrong direction. And I feel a little duped. I voted for Mr. Longfield and by extension Mr. Trudeau. I thought he promised a new transparent way of doing politics. I thought he promised a fair Canada that respected the rule of law. Like a majority of the 2015 election promises, he did not deliver on these. His government has closed ranks and discharged cabinet ministers in its quest to keep the SNC-Lavalin affair quiet. The Mark Norman trial is coming up over the summer as well. Mr. Trudeau's missteps continue to pile up. And that's not even mentioning talking about Japan and calling them China, or thank you for your donation or any of the other social missteps Mr. Trudeau has consistently made through his tenure as Prime Minister. It's very concerning. Immigration is a hot topic in this election. I've heard very divisive terms used by Mr. Trudeau that have done nothing but inflame and taint the public discord on the topic. White supremacist and Nazi are terms tossed around far too frequently these days, particularly when we're talking about our friends, our neighbors, and our family. If we can't find a way to have these conversations constructively, everyone will suffer, because nothing will get better. As I've said, if we can't identify the problem or discuss the problem, we have no shot at solving it. All immigration into our country needs to be managed with careful care and consideration. It should never be administered by unelected bureaucrats like those found at the United Nations. Mr. Trudeau's disastrous handling of the illegal border crossing crisis of 2017-18 and his signature to the Global Compact on Migration are very concerning. I'm happy to stand and represent the People's Party, who promised to restore full control of Canada's borders and full control of every part of the immigration system by removing Canada from the UN's Global Compact on Migration. What do I want to accomplish in Ottawa and in Guelph? Lloyd is a nice guy, but he voted with Mr. Trudeau on every single policy. I want a government that will open the books to independent inquiry instead of investigating themselves. I want a government that will listen to its Attorney General when she says that it's inappropriate to put pressure on her. I want a government that will answer questions and work with people for a better Canada, not a government that vilifies and calls names, not a government that divides using inflammatory language and distraction tactics in order to stifle the conversation. I don't want a government that will start whisper campaigns in the press or one that is comfortable destroying someone's reputation as an ends to their own means. I don't want a government that inserts criminal code changes for big business into budget bills, and the budget bill was C-74 in 2018 if you want to look at the implementation and the change to criminal code things to summary convictions. This means big business can just pay their way out of things formerly they had to go to trial for, which is insanity. It doesn't make sense. I want to be the People's Party candidate because I want to talk about the failures of this government rather than force feed you party talking points. I expect my government to come to the table willing to talk and willing to listen, to exchange ideas and debate them on their merits. The Trudeau Liberals fail on every single one of those expectations. My name is Mark Paralovos. It rhymes with for all of us. I want to represent you. Thank you for taking the time to watch today.